They don't even pretend to care about you. Who's they? The government? Women? Well, I guess women pretend, don't they? But men, you're treated as disposable. Most of you know it. And if you don't know it, you'll realize it at some point in your life. You'll realize two things. Society thinks you're disposable, and no one's coming to help you, rescue you, save you. Welcome to Far From Eden. I was watching a podcast last night, as I do, and I learned that lawmakers move to automate selective service registration for all men. It's like the time when I was in the post office. It's not like I don't, okay, I'm sorry, I'm super angry. I'm just trying not to get my thoughts scattered. This is not technically anything new. Obviously, I've always known that the draft is only for men, even though women have all the rights and privileges and everything that men have that were granted to men because of that they were going to be called up, possibly. Anyway, so I just want to tell you guys about what they're planning to do and who it is that's doing it. It's not official yet, but obviously, you know, with what's going on in the Ukraine, a few days ago, Biden authorized Ukraine to use United States weapons into Russia, and they did like very shortly after. It was almost like, it almost seemed like it was like an order. Like wink, wink, nod, nod. Not that I think Biden is doing it or anything, except for, pooping his pants, which is also something he did recently. This is not really a political channel. However, I care about men. And it's not a subject that's like this. Not to me, not as I see it. It is across the world, and I see it in everything almost. Anyways, to get to the news of the day, I'm just going to share with you an article from military, goodness gracious, it was like militarynews.com, something like that. You know what? I don't even care, because you'll find it if you just Google it. But I don't respect the people that are doing this at all. So, lawmakers move to automate selective service registration for all men. This was written by Leo Shane III, but here at the end, it claims that also Bryant Harris is a co-author of this. A new plan from House lawmakers, and this was May 22nd, 2024, so this past Wednesday. A new plan from House lawmakers would automatically register men for a potential military draft, again, wink, wink, nod, nod, when they hit age 18, avoiding potential legal consequences connected to failing to file the paperwork at the proper time. You guys, they care about you. They don't want you to get into legal trouble because you forgot to file the paperwork. They're looking out for you. This is why I went to rage, because it's not just, it's enough that they send you off to these wars that they want to fight for whatever reason, and they send you off against your will. And then they have the nerve to talk to you like, oh, this is for you. We're doing it, but don't worry. You don't have to worry about the paperwork. You should thank us. Language included in the House Armed Services Committee's draft of the annual defense authorization bill. Don't worry, I found out who's all on that board and how many women are on that board, on that committee. I found that out. Keep watching. There's some interesting things that we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about male deaths in the workplace. I was thinking about my words because of YouTube, but who cares? Language included in the House Armed Services Committee's draft of the annual Defense Authorization Bill would mandate the automatic registration of all males between ages 18 and 26 living in America in the Selective Service System, the federal database used for a military draft in case of a national emergency. You notice nobody said war, nobody said combat, nobody said military. Well, did they? They said military, but they were like not saying what they're saying. And again, they're still making it sound like this is just procedural. This is just administrative. We'll handle the paperwork for you. The system hasn't been used for that purpose for 52 years. But men who fail to register can face a host of legal consequences, including forfeiture of eligibility for federal programs and possible jail time. There's a veiled threat, thinly veiled threat. I'm not a man. And they don't, because I'm not, they don't do this to me. But I'd take the jail time and I'd tell them to shove their federal programs where the sun don't shine before I'd have them make me into a murderer or, use me as their pawn. But the number of individuals who have skipped registering has increased in recent years, in large part because registration options were removed from the federal student loan process 2 years ago. That had accounted for nearly a quarter of all registrations in prior years. I had no idea that that was a thing, that they were like, we'll give you the student loan, but you also have to do this. And then they took it off. And I don't know why. Probably they knew they would move towards this anyway. And they also know, yes, I wear a tinfoil hat. It's permanently affixed to my head. They know when they're going to do wars. Things are planned. I don't believe that it's the narrative that they tell us. I think that they have things planned out years in advance, sometimes decades in advance, of how they want things to go. We're all living in a game of Risk. Remember that game, Risk? And you got your little armies and take over the Ukraine. They made a Seinfeld episode where Kramer and Newman were carrying the board with them, still playing it. I keep thinking about that. And I'm like, they're doing it in real life. And we're the little plastic bits. Actually, I am so sorry. Did you hear what I just did? You guys are the little plastic bits. The men are the little plastic bits. Just wipe you off the board. It's fine. Representative Chrissy Houlihan, Democrat from Pennsylvania, sponsored the automatic registration language and called it both a money-saving and common sense reform. How on God's green earth does this woman live with herself? Perhaps, because I did a little research, perhaps it's because she herself is described as an Air Force vet. Maybe that's true. I'm going to venture a guess and say, ma'am, you were not on the front lines of combat. And you're not going to be forced to go into a war. You're just not. How dare you? What is it? What did they say? Sponsor the automatic registration language. What a way to say something. Who talks like that? You mean she said, let's do it this way? For money saving. Well, we'd want to save the money. Forget about the men. I don't care about saving them. We'll save some money. Common sense reform. That is a bunch of baloney. Men aren't registering. They're just not. And if you think that all these single moms or matriarch-dominated households where the mom wears the pants, if you think she's like, yeah, son, go sign up. She's not doing that to her baby boy. Mothers protect their children, generally speaking, from all things uncomfortable, unpleasant, whatever, which is bad. dad is the one that raises them up to be, adults. So mom's not going to sign them up. There's going to be some conservative military family. Sure, they will. But generally, no. So of course, the numbers have dropped. People. And instead of, what are they going to do? Like file charges against all the people who didn't register, all the young men who didn't register? No, they can't do that. Keep that in mind. If we all decide to do something, what are they going to do? There's so many more of us. Our government is large. I think it's like the largest ever in history. But there's way more of us. We just don't collectively ever decide to do something like not pay taxes or not whatever. But, young men have not been registering. So they're just going to be like, don't worry. We know you've got a lot to think about it. We'll handle it. And this Chrissy lady, she's going to do that. She appears to be, from what I could tell from my little brief research I did not see mention of a husband or children. And when you don't have children, it's a lot easier to say, we'll send the men off. And when you're not a man, 18 to 26, it's a lot easier to say, send the men off. Quote, by using available federal databases, the Selective Service Agency will be able to register all of the individuals required and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable, she said during debate on the idea Wednesday night. Did you guys hear that? I read this before I came on, and I think I'm still having a stroke from this sentence that she said. Because I want to know on what planet this is equitable. First of all, I hate the word equitable. But in this scenario, this is ludicrous. I'm going to repeat the quote that she said. By using available federal databases, means nothing. The Selective Service Agency will be able to register all of the individuals, men, required, and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable. What does that mean? She means all the men get signed up, no men get out of it. That's fair. They don't even try to hide it. They don't even try to hide it. I can't. Is she that dumb? Or is she that horrible? Probably both. The Selective Service system costs roughly $30 million a year. Lawmakers have proposed a number of reforms to the database in recent years, including adding women and completely eliminating the agency altogether, but none have made it through Congress. Yeah, to say it flippantly, like adding women or doing away with it altogether. It's not the database that they're talking about adding women or eliminating altogether. It's the draft. And they don't even want to say it. They don't even want it in your mind that the draft could be just gone. They don't want you to even think that that could be a possibility. Luke, he is a frequent commenter on here, and he has said that the draft is lawful. Maybe so. There's lots of things that are lawful. Abortion is lawful in some states. Lawful and right and moral are not the same thing. And when you have a giant country and other countries all around the world, when you have a country like this and they want to send you somewhere far away to people you don't know, and it's not an imminent danger to our country, which they like to tell you it is. But the way we're located, and like the leader of Japan in World War II was like, there's a pew pew behind every blade of grass in the United States. There's a reason we've never been really attacked. And you can talk about 9/11, but that's a different subject. And I'm not going to talk about that on YouTube because I still think we've never been attacked. Pearl Harbor, that was a military base, and Hawaii was not ours at the time. So I think that it's noble to protect your family, your community, your land, but to be sent off as a pawn because some people in suits have some kind of conflict with whatever. No. Nobody should be forced to go and fight in a war. So it may be lawful, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. Who are they? Who are they making these laws? They don't care about you. And if you didn't know it before, I hope you learned it a few years ago. Okay, where were we? Oh, right. Women doing away with it altogether. The latest proposal was approved unanimously by the committee. Did you hear that? The other two things haven't made it through Congress, right? But this, just signing all the men up automatically by this woman, Chrissy Houlihan, Democrat from Pennsylvania, that passed through this committee unanimously. Wow, such support. But still must advance to the full House and Senate before it can become law. The authorization bill, which contains a myriad of military budget and policy priorities, is expected to be finalized by the two chambers sometime this fall. What do y'all want to bet it's going to pass? What do you want to bet? It's just disgusting. It's infuriating. The way men are treated, the way on that committee that passed it unanimously, there are 56 members, as long as I counted properly. Of those 56 members, 13 are women. I thought that's a funny number, 13. You'll see it pop up a lot. Now that I've said it, if you haven't noticed it, if you're not the conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat wearing person like I am, you'll find it a lot of times. It'll be like 13 died and such, and 13 are missing, and it pops up a lot. There's other numbers that do that too. Sorry, y'all. I am fired up about this. And I thought about maybe I should calm down a little bit before I make a video on this, but I just, no, has to be made now. So, yeah. Okay, then I started thinking more about how disposable men are in our society. And in 2022, men unalived themselves 3.85 times more than women. And just for kicks, it's interesting to note that white males are 68.46% of the unalived deaths in 2022. It's weird. But I think that we all know why that's happening. Now, if you look to mainstream type sources, you're going to get, insults basically, that you don't have to deal with your feelings, that you're toxic, that all this is like some kind of problem with masculinity. Oh, remember that article we read that you're having trouble adapting to a world where women are equal? Remember? Maybe that's the problem. No, that's not the problem. When you treat people like crap all the time and you prevent them from attaining things in life, like family, children, if they want to be promoted, if they want to go to a school, they have to work harder. It's just the facts. It's just how it is. And it's not how America was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a meritocracy. But, that's not what the left is interested in. If it was a meritocracy, you wouldn't see women doing as much as what they're doing. they're getting promoted. You can watch the Home Math, episode or several episodes where he's talking about, women want men with money, but women demanded jobs, then they demanded promotions, and they demanded raises. Where do they think that money came from? It went from the man's pile into the woman's pile. And now they're like, well, I don't want to marry somebody who makes the same or less than I do. Where are all the men? You took their money. So, what are they supposed to, okay. What are the men supposed to be living for? Contrary to popular belief, most men wanted families. Now, I don't think that's as true for Gen Z and maybe some younger millennials, because of everything's so twisted and so put towards career and seeking pleasure and, the dinks. What is it? Dual income, no kids. The thing is, you get to later in life, and if you have any substance at all, you start to realize, well, this is empty. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just be on their deathbed thinking about all their trips to Aruba. I don't think so. I think humans are made a certain way. I think that women are made to have children. I mean, literally, I'm talking literally. We have the capacity to have children. That's what our bodies are inclined to want to do. Men have a natural instinct to provide and protect for things that are weaker, more vulnerable than they are. And some of that is in the last paragraph of this article. Now, full disclosure, this article is, this is part of the last article. Oh my goodness. This article is 5 years old, but it really doesn't matter because it's not that we need the updated statistics. This is the attitude towards men in this country. And I would broaden that out to Western society in general, because I think this happens across Europe. I think it happens in Australia, New Zealand. You guys can tell me. I know we have people from Poland, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Russia. There's so many of you. Ireland, definitely the UK. You guys are from all over the place. And so please tell me, is your society disenfranchising men, disposing of them, treating them as disposable, as pawns, and then insulting them and condescending to them? Oh, don't worry, we'll do the paperwork for you so you don't have to worry about filling out the paperwork to be a pawn. Because if you don't do it, we're going to throw you in jail and take away federal programs. What is that? Social Security that you've already paid into? What are they talking about, federal programs? Funny, they don't say what they're saying. All right. So this article, like I said, is 5 years old, but I think it says a lot about the attitude towards men in Western society. This was in Forbes, written by Chuck DeVore, December 19th, 2018. Fatal employment. Men 10 times more likely than women to be killed at work. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released its annual Census of Fatal Occupational Injuries on December 18th, with the data likely being surprising to some people. Which people are those people? Women? Because I don't think it's surprising to men. I think if you walk up to men and you're like, men die way more in on the job, you really think the men are going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect it. Come on now. Surprising to some people. Because that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the attitude towards men. Looking at 139 separate occupations and discrete industries, an obvious pattern quickly emerges. The safest workplaces are indoors, and the safest occupations frequently require education beyond high school. The most deadly occupations, on the other hand, are outside and often involve operating equipment. A lot of times it's equipment that women cannot use. This largely drives the huge difference in workplace fatalities between men and women, with 4,761 men dying on the job compared to 386 women in 2017. Now, Do you think that's changed a whole heck of a lot? No, there's no way. It's not like we've had a whole big group of women that are now working on oil rigs and now they're roofers. No, no. I love how corporate media just thinks they can just tell us stuff and we'll just be like, okay, even if, we have eyeballs. We experience the world. I know, though, it works on so many people and they just swallow it. And even though it goes against what they're seeing. And I mean, even I was like that for a while. Some of you probably, maybe you weren't awake right away. Man, once you are, it's really obvious. The fatality rate for men was about 10 times that of women, 5.7 per 100,000 versus 0.6 per 100,000 for women. Working with computers in hospitals, in business and finance, as well as teaching, were the safest 4 fields in 2017, with fatality rates per hours worked about 1/10 of the national average of 3.5 workplace fatalities per 100,000 full-time worker equivalents. On the other side of the ledger, the 4 most dangerous occupations were in commercial fishing, logging, aircraft pilots, and roofers. Regarding pilots and flight engineers, 59 died at work in 2017. That noted, air travel is far safer than other modes of transportation. Most of these unfortunate deaths involved smaller aircraft such as helicopters rather than large commercial airliners. Well, that was before, DEI and all the Boeing issues and stuff. So I don't know about you, but I don't trust getting on a plane as much as I used to. Let's put it that way. Thankfully for our first responders, police and sheriff patrol officers didn't make the top 20 most dangerous professions in 2017. Do you notice that? Look, I don't want any men to die in the workforce. I don't want it to happen to anybody, but do you notice? First responders, police, and sheriff patrol officers didn't make the top 20. Why are they more important than the loggers? You're saying, well, at least it was just the loggers who were dying. You know why? That is subliminal. That is because these people work for the state. They want it to be like, oh no, they rescue you. They say, no, rescue you. When seconds count, cops are minutes away. They're the cleanup crew, okay? And they write tickets. They're not preventing murders, The Bureau of Labor Statistics cites 95 deaths in uniform for a rate of 12.9 workplace deaths per 100,000 FTE, placing law enforcement as the 25th most dangerous occupation in 2017. Firefighters, on the other hand, suffered 34 fatalities in 2017 for a fatal workplace injury rate that was the closest to the overall national average of any of the 139 occupations or industries. Many first responder fatalities happen in connection with responding to the scene. Being in a moving vehicle is risky. Okay. Bartenders and other employees in drinking establishments come in as the 27th most dangerous profession, showing that stupid stuff tends to happen around large amounts of alcohol. Right. And that probably accounts for a lot of the female deaths, because there are female deaths in the workplace. But for all I know, it's like of natural causes when it's so low compared to the men. It's so different. They're not falling off roofs. The oil and gas extraction industry, once known for danger, saw a death rate of 8 per 100,000 workers in 2017, placing that industry as the 43rd most dangerous out of 139 occupations or industries. This fatality rate is a little more than double the national average. And for that year, you don't know if they were drilling more. They were probably drilling actually more because it was during Trump's time. Occupational fatality rates at the state level reflect the occupations in that state. Duh. Alaska, 10.2 per 100,000, and North Dakota, 10.1 per 100,000, had the highest workplace fatality rates in 2017. Fishing, logging, and agriculture remain dangerous fields, yet essential if we want to eat and have shelter. Thank you, men. if we want to eat and have shelter. Who's doing those jobs? The men are. Have they said that? Have they alluded to it? No. No. And it gets worse. The last paragraph just about set me off. The safest states in 2017 were New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. As the construction trades, especially roofing, are relatively dangerous, the low rates of occupational fatalities in these states are likely due to the low level of new home construction there. Another interesting comparison is the military. Oh my gosh, ready? Ready for this? Oh, this isn't even the part that I said set me off, but this is why when I came on this video, Another interesting comparison is to the military. The Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't include the military in its statistics. If it did, military service would generally rank as safer than fishing and logging, but more dangerous than everything else. This holds true whether in wartime or peacetime. Because we're always at war. We're always doing something over there. No, we haven't declared war since World War II. So they're always doing stuff. They don't tell us about it, but they are. Otherwise, how could it be the same? This holds true whether in wartime or peacetime, as close to half of military fatalities happen during training accidents. Still, training death rates have declined by about half from 1980 to 2010 as lower cost and safer simulation has replaced large-scale field exercises. The author was part of a desert exercise in 1989 with 10,000 soldiers operating tanks and other heavy equipment with 3 fatalities over the course of 2 weeks. Goodness. And let's just, for 1 second, remind ourselves that a man wrote this. He's not pointing out that men are the ones doing necessary jobs, the dangerous jobs, as he said, if we want to eat and have shelter. Why? They're not allowed to say it. They're not. They won't be writing for Forbes if they say that. Occupational death rates by race and ethnicity reflect career choices, as well as demographic concentrations in regions that tend to host high-risk jobs. The white fatality rate was 3.6, just above the national average of 3.5. The black fatality rate was 3.2. The Asian was 1.6, and the Hispanic fatality rate was 3.7. It makes total sense because Asians primarily are doing white-collar work. Education, computers, engineering, all that sort of stuff, indoors, air conditioned. We owe much of what we take for granted in our high standard of living. Oh, here we go. Sorry. We owe much of what we take for granted in our high standard of living to people willing to work in harsh and dangerous environments, whether pulling in crab pots in the Gulf of Alaska or roofing a 2-story house in the Texas summer heat. People willing to work in harsh and dangerous environments? Who's doing that? Who's working in the harsh and dangerous environments? It's not women. Not only do they not do it, not only do we not do it, we don't even recognize it. We say, oh, we're equal. They think like, oh, if women didn't work for a day, it'd be the same as if men didn't work for a day. Actually, take that back. Women think it would be far worse if women didn't work for a day. I'm like, might be better in some ways. You guys, I am so sorry. Like, especially to the men ages 18 to 26, or who are about to be. And to the men who have sons, and to the women who have sons, 18 to 26. Because it's not right. It may be lawful, but it's not right. It's not right. And what's also not right is not acknowledging that it's men who make this sacrifice, that it's men who do the tough jobs. They go out there and they do it. Now, will the younger ones do it in the same amount? Because it seems to me that Gen Z is pretty soft all the way around. And also, what's their motivation? They're definitely not appreciated. You know, is it possible that the Gen Z men are going to realize, I'm not appreciated. I don't have a family to, work for and sweat for, and who, a wife that's actually going to be a wife and be in the home and raise our children and contribute to the family. Like, why are you going to go be a roofer? All people need a reason, a purpose, and it can't just be pleasure seeking, going to the next pleasurable experience, That's very empty. And Gen Z has the highest mental health issues of any generation. They're, and in a way, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. What's going to happen when a draft happens and men are like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. Because I think there might be quite a few who will, and I think that's why they're doing this automated thing. But I also think that they're doing this automated thing because in their head, they have to. Because they're going to need it. And I don't know if it's going to be Ukraine. I don't know if it's going to be the Middle East. I don't know if it's going to be, here at home. There's what is it? Wars and rumors of wars. Yep. A lot of prophecy happens to be coming true. And I know that pretty much every generation has always thought, well, we're in the end times, but it's pretty difficult not to think that right now. So I guess I'm in that same boat. None of us knows the day or the hour, but we should be looking to the skies, because this is, I don't know how this all gets resolved. I don't know how it all gets resolved. It seems to be, it seems that things are being set up for certain things to happen. Let's put it that way, because I think they already know. And I just think that men need to say, no, don't let them use you like that. It's kind of like a MGTOW thing. MGTOW has expanded so much. It was like I'm walking away from women. Now it's like minimize yourself as a target. Don't pay more into the system than you have to. So no need to make a lot of money, so you don't pay taxes, which primarily go to subsidize single motherhood. You can look that up. That's a fact. And if they don't want to pay into that, support that, then maybe they're going to get jobs that's just so they can live off of it. Because what do you really need? The big houses and all that stuff, that's mostly for women. Men are simple. They're not trying to put on airs. Yes, there are some men that are like, look at my car. But by and large, that is not how they are. Because they're practical and simple. So they don't need to go and be super rich if they're not thinking, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a family and have a legacy. And if that's not an option, well, just, who cares? And I feel like minimizing all of that, I don't know. I don't know how well it's going to go when they automate it and then they call people up. And they're going to be like, no. So I think the draft should be done away with completely. And as far as women being added to the draft, that's a great way to lose a war. That's a great way to get more men killed. It doesn't help the men. So for the men's rights people saying women should be drafted too, I'm like, you want your men to get killed? Because that'll be worse. Because men will instinctively want to protect those women. And those women will hold those men back. So it will not be good. It will hinder the safety of the men if the women are drafted. So no, I don't agree with that. And it isn't because I'm like, oh, women are precious. And no, it's not that. It's that we're not good at it. We're not good at it. We're not as strong. We're not as fast. We can't handle weather conditions, anything like that. To the fact that our vision isn't as good as far as like, what the type of vision you need in awards. And it's little things like that matter. There's a reason why over the course of history, armies have been made up by men. And it actually isn't because societies have hated men. It's because they wanted to win the war. So putting women in the draft helps nobody. Canceling the draft makes the most sense. If they have to force you to go, then it's not an imminent threat to you. If you have to be propagandized into it or false flagged into it, then you don't need to go. But I just hate this for you guys. I hate it. And I hate how they add insult to injury by insulting you, not even thanking you. Not even thanking you or apologizing to you. Just acting like, whatever. That's just how it is. So, anyway, protect yourselves. Please take some time to find some peace. I am sorry, I don't think I brought you any peace in this video. This feels like a tumultuous video, but it needs to be said. It needs to be said by a lot of people. It needs to be screamed from the rooftops. But it won't be. It won't be. I do want you to feed your souls. I want you to take care of yourselves. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Good night.